tell us a bit about what this means. How do you use AI to be moderating content? How is that useful for threat intelligence? That kind of thing.
Sure. So Activants, you're right. Like we are a platform that basically our clients are any company that has user generated content. So whether it's comments or chats or uploading videos or audio or any place that you have a user that's able to upload content, there's a potential for misuse of that and for uploading malicious content. And our mission is basically to help platforms ensure that their users are safe, that they have safe online interactions. And so we provide the tools to help them do that. And really this is one of the biggest challenges that face UGCs or platforms with user generated content, is basically how can they detect this malicious behavior, especially since, as we know, items can be in any format, right? So we need to be able to detect whether it's video, audio, text, images, all of that. And also it can be in any language, and it can also be any number of violations, right? So you have sort of these big ones that, you say absolutely not, like I do not want child pornography, I do not want terror, I do not want white supremacy. But there's like many more. And different companies, different platforms have different levels of sensitivity to it, right? Even something that you can say as blatant as like, I do not want child pornography. No one wants child pornography on their platform. But let's define it, right? What does that mean? Is, baby's first bath? Is that something that we need to be aware of? And so the tools that we provide need to be sort of contextually aware of, the policy, the way that things are being used or presented. And so for me, and for all, my teams, it's a super, super interesting space to be in, because not only are the algorithms that we use really exciting and sort of interesting, but I think the application, right? We're not selling air. Like we're actually making it like impact it, like making a real impact on like human interactions in a positive way.
Right. So, to what extent can you tell us about those exciting algorithms?
So that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking. Um, so I think that there's many different levels of things that we can do. So the first thing is that we have a platform, right? And this is a platform that basically enables it enables users or like moderators to come in, to view the content, to look at sort of where it is, and then to make a decision whether or not something should be removed or not. Right? And this is the platform that we provide to our users. In order to basically ensure that we're able to protect the well-being of the moderators and to make sure they're only seeing things they actually need to see in order to be more efficient, there's absolutely no need to review everything. There's most of the things are benign, and even within the things that are harmful, there isn't really any need to view anything. Then in that case, basically, you want to make sure that you have some sort of automated content moderation on top, and that's where sort of we come in. Yes.
I guess that ends up being important for the mental health of the people who are doing the content moderation as well, because I've read how people in those roles, it can be quite a harrowing experience when you're just watching beheadings and child porn all day.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Like moderator well-being is a huge, huge, huge issue. It's in the news, like periodically it comes up as like this huge thing, and Activents is like very, very concerned about this. Right? We deal with data that is not pleasant, right? And so in the same way that I actively work to protect my data scientists and my engineers from exposure to this, and only when it's really needed, and with a lot of safeguards, we want to make sure that we're all human, and we want to make sure that moderators are also protected in the same way. And so if there's things that are sort of
Right.
blatant, a beheading, why do they need to watch that? There really isn't a need, right? There's things that are clearly, obviously violations, are clearly, obviously malicious, and should just be removed and banned. And so the algorithms that we use, basically, we use what we call contextual AI. What this means is that we look at sort of the item in the context that it is being used. But also within the item, right, we have our data model basically enables us to take sort of an item, even if it's just an image, and start breaking it apart into the components that it has, so that then we can build those together into a coherent risk score, where this risk score can take into account, do we see any like weapons? Do we see any known logos? Do we see any known people of interest that we know have, from their history or whatever, we know that they're, spewing hate speech or misinformation and so forth. And then all those components together can combine to basically say, yes, this item is very probable to be risky. Um, and so that's sort of how we build the full picture. And then, of course, there's other layers of that, right? Even, for example, for chats, right? You can say, well, I can just use keywords, right? Like if I find the N word, then clearly this is very violative. But what if it's someone saying, please don't call me that? Or what if it's a rap song? Or what if it's, someone community sort of re-owning a word? And so like, I'm proud to be a whatever, some slur. And so in those cases, clearly I don't want to ban that. And if I'm just doing keywords, which are sort of contextually unaware, then I lose that ability. And so in those cases, we do need to use sort of language models that are more contextually aware. And these language models need to be trained and tuned on these specific cases, because these are the cases that are always interesting.
That does sound really interesting, and it sounds like the kind of thing that in this brave new world that we have of these really powerful large language models, that this is the kind of thing that they could do really well. That a few years ago, it might have been a lot tougher, um, and so it's great that you're presumably able to leverage these kinds of new technologies, especially these kind of multimodal technologies that are emerging. So
Mhm.
I don't think it's available to the public yet, but GPT-4 has this image component where you can have an image, you can provide an image, a photo of your fridge, and ask GPT-4, what can I cook based
Mhm.
on the ingredients that you see in this image?
Mhm.
And so that kind of multimodality, it sounds like it's something that you've been working with for a while.
Yeah, we've been looking a lot at multimodality, because if I'm going back to the child pornography example, because that's for people something that's like so obvious, right? Like you should be able to know whether something is child porn or not. Like we all sort of viscerally know what is bad, and yet sometimes you'll see, a picture of a child and it looks fine, but it's sort of like only the people that are in the know will know that, whether like that's a face of a victim that's known, or in the comments there's links to off platform sites, or something about the angle, or a logo that's just like the picture itself is benign, but there's a logo that's associated with a studio that's been associated with child porn, or the title or the description. And so sometimes it's enough to look at the image, sometimes it's enough to look at the surroundings, but oftentimes it's the combination. And I mean, in terms of like the generative AI, right now is sort of this sort of like perfect storm for trust and safety, right? Because we're going to be having sort of U.S. elections soon, and so political disinformation is something that's like very, very pertinent, and is now sort of having these large language models sort of lowers the bar for the entry of bad actors, right? Suddenly,
Hmm.
if it used to be
Hmm.
that things could either be like really high quality but low scale, or low quality and easy to catch and high scale, now that's not an issue, right? Um, and so it's like an enabling technology that it's obviously I don't like no fear mongering here. I think it's like has a lot of good that it can do, but we need to be aware of how it can be used and how we can come and be prepared for it.